as we were dealing with the transport across the membrane, as we all know, cell membrane is semi-permeable, right? When the cell membrane is semi-permeable, the components cannot travel across the membrane as they want. Okay, depending on the requirements, these components are traveling in and out of the cell, and also based on what kind of mechanism, they are divided into two types. That is the active transport and passive transport. Okay, active transport means when ATP is utilized. Passive transport means when ATP is not utilized. Okay, when ATP is not utilized for the energy currency. Then again you have different subtypes, which includes the simple diffusion, facilitated diffusion, ion channels and osmosis for the passive transport. And on the active transport, you have primary active and secondary active. So we have gone through all these components. Passive transport or the components movement is across the gradient without utilizing the energy. Facilitated diffusion, again here also it is from the higher concentration to the lower concentration, but protein will undergo some changes in its own structure to transport that molecule. So that is one of the mechanisms, that is called as ping pong conformation of the protein, where the membrane protein, or also called as the facilitator protein, helps to facilitate the movement of the molecule in and out of the cell. Okay, in and out of the cell. Ion channels, ion itself tells these are the channels or the gates which are specifically to the ions. Okay, that might be the sodium ion, potassium ion, chloride ion, or calcium ions. So they are specific to the ions. And there are plenty of ion disorders also, like for example you have sodium channel defects. One of such example is the Liddle's disease. Potassium channel defect, if there is defect in the potassium channel, then you have a long QT syndrome, as I also mentioned. These are terminologies, don't worry if you don't know what they are. When you will be going through the course, you will be coming across all these terminologies. QT comes on the ECG, which you will be learning in physiology in very detail. Okay, how the ECG appears, what are the leads, those are specific details you will learn. Then one more disorder related to chloride channel, that is the your acting as a inhibitors, neurotransmitter inhibitors, chloride. And also disorder, some disorders like for example cystic fibrosis is also related to the chloride channels. Okay, and also they are involved in the vision pathway. Okay, the how you are perceiving the objects through your eyes, the vision is also, the retina is most important part of for the vision perception. So that is also involves some of the ion channels. Okay, so these are the clinical importance of the ion channels. And osmosis, which you primarily learn in your very basic schoolings also, the movement of the solvents through the semi-permeable membrane. Here semi-permeable membrane, what is it? It is the plasma membrane, or you call a cell membrane, is a semi-permeable membrane. So the components or the solvent movement across this membrane through the concentration gradient. Okay, water molecule concentration gradient. Then active transport we have already finished. Active means it utilizes energy currency. Okay, if it do not require ATP, then it is called as passive transport. Passively, without energy currency. Here we are utilizing the energy currency. One of the most important is primary active transport, where transport of the molecule with the help of the energy, like in this GF also you can see, when the energy currency ATP is attaching to the membrane, the molecules are pushed, and most commonly the movement of the molecule is always from low gradient to the high gradient. Okay, or the low concentration to the high concentration region. So that is the reason when the movement of the molecule is against the concentration gradient, they require the energy. So that is how ATP helps as a important molecule to transport the molecules against the concentration gradient. That is from low concentration to the high concentration movement of the molecules. That might be like, for example, here it is shown is sodium potassium pump. Okay, you can see here the movement of sodium and potassium against the concentration gradient. Okay, one more type of active transport which you need to know is the secondary active transport, which uses again same energy currency ATP, but for example, the glucose is transported across the membrane, but glucose transport in the cell do not require any ATP. Correct? Here, if you see in this picture, this portion do not require any ATP, but the movement of glucose is along with one ion, that is the sodium. Here, in the other side of the picture of sodium, it need to be pushed out also, because the concentration of sodium is always low in the cell and high in the outside matrix. If this sodium is entering into the cell, it need to be pushed outside the cell, out of the cell. So that is through the sodium potassium pump. Yes, you can see here sodium potassium pump helps in the movement of sodium again out of the cell. So this requires the energy. So that is the reason it is called as secondary active. The sodium is coming along with the glucose, but its movement outside out of the cell requires the energy currency. So as I mentioned, these are the three different most common types: passive diffusion and active transport. Passive transport, where there is no requirement of ATP. Okay, energy currency is not required. Whereas in active transport, we require the energy currency, adenosine triphosphate, or the ATP. What are the other transport mechanisms of the cell? One of such is endocytosis. Means what? Endo means inside. Okay, something is taken inside the cell. That is ingestion of bigger molecules, not the small ones like ions and all. They are already handled by the passive diffusion. But the components which are very big, they cannot come through these small channels. So there should be some other mechanism by which these bigger molecules can be engulfed into the cell. Okay, so that is by the endocytosis, the movement of the macromolecules and nutrients that are very large or too large to pass through the membrane or the proteins. Okay, the channels. So they are majorly of two types. One is called as pinocytosis, means drinking. Like for example, water molecules moving inside the cell. Okay, you can see in this picture, there is pinching out. The plasma membrane is making a pocket, and then again it pinches out such a way that it forms small vacuole or the vesicle. Okay, so it is engulfing the water molecule. Pinocytosis means transport of the fluid into the cell by the endocytosis procedure. Phagocytosis means then you replace this fluid by a hard component, like for example a food particle or a bacteria. Okay, right, a food particle or a bacteria is engulfed into the cell. Okay, you can see here also there is formation of small dip in the cell membrane, such a way that this food particle can be captured in that pocket. Then slowly the pocket will pinch out. Yes, there is pinching of this pocket, and then it becomes the integral part. It is engulfed into the cytoplasm with the plasma membrane intact. This is phagocytosis, the movement of large particles or even whole cell. Like for example, if it is a bacterial cell, okay, whole bacteria can be engulfed by the most important defense cells, like for example macrophages. Okay, macrophages can engulf the bacterial cells. They can just engulf the bacterial cells as it is shown here. You can see in the GIF also how the bacterial cells or any food particle or solid particles are taken into the cell. That is called as phagocytosis. Previously seen pinocytosis, that is the movement of the fluid into the cell, whereas hard particles, large hard particles, or even the cell, whole cell of like bacteria or viruses, they can be engulfed through this procedure, that is phagocytosis. Routinely what happens, this is phagocytosed component. And we also know there is one more component in the cell, they are called as lysosomes, or also called as digestive tract of the cell, which contains various hydrolytic enzymes, correct, which can digest the lipids, which can digest the carbohydrates, which can digest the proteins, and also the nucleic acids. So they can, technically speaking, they can digest anything. Okay, because we all know any cell you take, they are made up of major three components, which includes carbohydrate, protein, and lipids, plus the genetic information as nucleic acids. So this lysosome contains all the enzymes which are required to digest whole cell. So what happens? This lysosome binds with this phagosome. What is engulfed inside is called as phagosome. Okay, whatever is taken in is called as phagosome. We have lysosome. So these two will combine again. These two will combine. I'm showing the picture. I think I don't have the picture. Okay, fine. Fine. So this lysosome binds with this phagosome, and they're called as phagolysosome. That is, they become whole one component, the lysosome with the bacterial cell inside it. And you have digesting enzymes because lysosome binds with the your phagosome, and they start attacking this cell or the bacterial cell or any food particle, and they just digest them completely, the phagolysosome. So this is one of the mechanisms by which macrophages digest the bacterial cells or any foreign body. Okay, you can remember as foreign body. Any foreign body can be digested like this by forming a phagolysosome. Now, till now, what we have seen is endocytosis, means taking the component inside the cell. One more mechanism is exocytosis. Exo means exit. You are showing exit to the components outside the cell. That is process by which materials are released from inside the cell to outside the cell. Like for example, you have synthesized, like here you can see you have synthesized some hormone. Like for example, you can take insulin hormone. So insulin hormone is synthesized in the cell, but where it function, its function is in different organs. Like for example, it might be heart, it might be muscles, it might be normal cells, brain cell, whatever it might be. The hormone or the protein need to be reaching here. So how it should reach? First, it has to leave the cell and come into the blood circulation. Through the blood, it will be reaching the all the peripheral organs, whatever it might be, all the organs. So to reach the blood, it has to be eliminated from the cell. Cell should release this component into the blood circulation or extracellular matrix. So that is by process called as exocytosis. These are packets. From where is this coming actually? If you remember, Golgi apparatus, they helps in what? Helps in the sorting of the proteins. Then they form vesicles. These vesicles are filled with the protein which need to be sent outside the cell. This is the vesicle. What you are seeing here is vesicle filled with the protein. So they go and attach to the membrane and they just integrate. If you see here, they are getting integrated in the cell membrane. And whatever component is there, it is released into the external cell, okay, outside the cell, that might go in absorption for the blood, from blood to the various organs. So that is the exocytosis, exiting the cell. Okay, the components are exited outside the cell. They might release anything. Okay, I just gave example of hormone. It can be a toxin components which are digested, or the waste products from the cell are just released into the blood. Okay. Also, other proteins, as I mentioned, proteins like hormones can also be released in the same manner. Okay, hormones can also be released in this same manner, where the proteins are released into the outside the cell by exocytosis. The process is called as exocytosis. Endocytosis, movement of the molecules inside the cell. Exocytosis, movement of the particle outside the cell. So these two things. Next, other important aspect which can be asked for a 3-mark question is transport of the material based on the movement. Okay, whether it is coming inside the cell or going outside the cell. That is called as transport of the molecules based on the movement, direction of movement, whether they are going in what direction. Okay, like for example, here you can see one of such example is 148. Yeah, based on the direction, if you are classifying the transport across the membrane, then you can classify as one of the example is uniport. Uni means single molecule is transported across the membrane. Okay, if you are taking a protein, it allows only one molecule to transport, uniport. Symport means it carries two solutes in same direction. Like for example, you have a channel and it is allowing movement of two molecules in same direction. Like for example, we have seen sodium and glucose, they move along each other. Antiport means, anti means against, means what? Through the protein channel, one molecule is coming in and another molecule is going out. Like example, you have seen sodium potassium pump. Yes, sodium is going outside the cell, potassium is coming inside the cell through this channel. So based on the direction, again you can classify the protein transport. That is, uniport means only one molecule is transported across the membrane. Example, various glucose transporters are uniport. They allow only glucose to travel in one direction. Either they are going in or out. Symport means they are two solute molecules or two molecules going in one direction. Okay, in the same direction. Either they are going out of the cell or inside the cell. Okay, their movement is either outside or inside. Antiport means they are against each other. Okay, the movement is against each other. The antiport is movement of the particles against each other. That is called as antiport. Example which we have seen previously also, sodium potassium pump, where sodium is coming in of the cell and sodium is going out of the cell and potassium is coming inside of the cell. So in the picture also you can see uniport means single type of molecule, like for example glucose is transported in of the cell. Symport means two molecules are crossing through this protein but in same direction. Either they are coming inside the cell or they are exiting the cell. So symport means both the molecules in single direction. Antiport means two different molecules and they are crossing opposite to each other. One is coming in, other is going out of the cell. So they are anti to each other. This is the classification based on the direction of the molecule. Okay, this can be a 3-mark question. You should be able to write what it is, and also in simple way you have to draw also. Okay, you have to make some pictorial representation. So you can see in this picture also you have uniport. Yes, only single type of molecule is moving inside the cell. You can see in this picture two different molecules moving in same direction. That is the symport. And in this picture you can see One molecule is coming in, one molecule is going out. Yes, that is the antiport. You have a symport, uniport. You have a symport where two molecules coming in one direction, either they are coming in or going out, and molecules are going in different direction, opposite to each other. That is called as antiport transport across the membrane. So, three different classifications we have seen of the transport across the membrane. One is based on the channel, that is whether it is passive transport or active transport. Second, based on the direction. And third is based on the macromolecules. If it is a very big molecule, then you have two mechanisms, endocytosis and exocytosis. Endo means taking the components inside the cell. Again, it has two types, pinocytosis and phagocytosis. Pinocytosis means engulfing the fluid. Phagocytosis means the solid materials being engulfed inside the cell. Okay, there are plenty amount of defects which are related to the transport across the membrane. Okay, like for example, ion channels, we have already told, that is cystic fibrosis due to the chloride ions. Copper deficiency, copper channel defect, the Wilson's disease occurs. Potassium channel defect, we already know, long QT syndrome. And there are some other channels also, like for example, absorption of the amino acids. If the defect is in absorption of amino acids, then again disorder called as Hartnupp's disease is there. Other type of amino acids like cysteine and cysteine. These specific amino acids you will be learning in next chapter, that is amino acids also. But to mention here, any specific protein or the channel is defective, there are diseases associated with it. Okay, amino acid, neutral amino acids, you have Hartnupp's disease, specific amino acids like cysteine and cysteine, then they are excreted in the urine. Okay, channel with the phosphate defect, then they might end up having the rickets, that is called as vitamin D resistance ricket. Some cholesterols like LDL cholesterol, if the transport of this component is defective, then again you will have something called as increase in cholesterol levels, which runs in the family. Okay, that is familial hypercholesterolemia can be due to the defect in this particular channel. Okay, so this can be expected for 3-mark question, where you should be able to write the channel name and what is the defect or disease occurs. Okay, at least you should be able to write 3 to 4 examples, like for neutral Hartnup disease, for cystinuria. These things, so easy to remember: chloride, cystic fibrosis will be there, copper, Wilson's disease will be there, and potassium, long QT syndrome, or even sodium, as we have seen previously, Liddell's disease. Yes, that also you can give as an example for defects in the transport system. Okay, to summarize, the simple diffusion, do we require the carrier? No. Okay, so they don't require any carrier protein. Is it again the concentration gradient? No. Simple diffusion always occurs from higher concentration to the low concentration. Energy, is it required? Not at all required, because it's simple diffusion which comes under the passive. So there is no requirement of the energy currency. Example, aquaporins or the simple water diffusion. This is first type. Second type, facilitated diffusion. Does carrier protein is required? Yes, obviously. Facilitated diffusion is with the help of the protein or the cell membrane protein. So they require carrier. Is it against the gradient? No. Again, this also is from higher concentration to the low concentration. So they don't require any energy currency ATP. So energy is required nil. Example, glucose movement in the RBC cells. Next, third, ion channels. Again, ion channels, do they have specific channels? Yes. Like sodium has its own different channels, potassium has got its own channel. So they are carrier protein mediated. But is it against the concentration gradient? No. It is also from higher concentration of that particular ion to the low concentration. Hence, they don't require the energy currency. Examples, you can give plenty examples. All the ions, sodium, potassium, calcium, magnesium, phosphorus, anything you give, all that ions, they are through ion channels. Next, fourth type, primary active transport. Does it require carrier protein? Obviously, yes. Is it against the gradient? Yes. It is occurring from low concentration to the high concentration area. Is it energy required? Yes. Directly energy is utilized. Example, sodium potassium pump or sodium pump. It's simple. Secondary active, it is also carrier mediated. It occurs against the gradient from the low concentration to the high concentration, but energy utilized is indirect. Okay, and example, glucose transport in intestine, that is called as sodium dependent glucose transporter, that is called as SGLT1 is present in the intestine. Okay, SGLT1, sodium dependent glucose transporters. Okay, is the example for the same. Okay, last thing what we have left with is one more thing. I'll just come to that slide. Yeah. There are something called as lipid rafts. On the cell wall, okay, if you see the cell wall, there are particular area which is not fixed. Okay, be clear in your mind that particular area is not fixed, but there is some area on the cell wall which are dynamic, means they are not static. It's not particular place, but they are present, they are moving. As we all know, one of the characteristics of the cell membrane is they are in continuous movement, lateral movement. So obviously this is not static, it's a dynamic area on the cell membrane where the lipid, the cholesterol is very much in high concentration. Okay, the cholesterol and sphingolipids are high concentration. The particular area on the cell membrane, there is cholesterol and sphingolipid rich areas. They are called as lipid raft. What is the main function of this? It is majorly involved in the signal transduction process. Okay, in the hormones you have seen, there are something called as signal transduction pathway, in which cell membrane obviously plays a very important role for the transferring the signal. Okay, transduction of the signal. In the, similarly, there is particular area or particular lipid raft. Okay, there is one type of lipid raft. There is called as caveolae. Apart from the lipid rich area, okay, apart from the lipid rich area, it contains one specific protein. What is that? That is called as caveolin protein, which helps in the formation of this particular lipid raft. I'll show in the figure. Okay, you can see here. This is the protein or the area which is called a lipid raft. Why? Because it is more rich in the lipids, that is the sphingolipids and the cholesterol. Okay, cholesterol and sphingolipid is rich in this area, that is called as lipid raft. And the caveolin protein, okay, you can see here the protein, caveolin protein is converting this simple straight line into a caveole or a pocket-like structure. This pocket-like structure is called as caveole, which is occurring due to the presence of a protein called as caveolin, which helps to one of the procedure, like for example, endocytosis. Okay, this one of the mechanism where endocytosis of particular things. What is it? helps in the signal transduction. You can see G protein coupled receptors here, and also it helps in presence of the proteins, particular proteins, like for example insulin receptors are present in that area, G protein coupled receptors are present in such areas, folate or folic acid receptors are also present in that area, and also nitric oxide synthesis complex. Okay, the enzymes which are involved in synthesis of nitric oxide are also present in this particular area. Okay, means this area is very much important for cell transduction pathway. Okay, which you have learnt in the hormones chapter, cell transduction pathway. This lipid raft and caveolae are important portion on the cell membrane which are majorly involved in this kind of transduction pathways. Okay, because they are rich in these particular proteins. As we all know, as I last time also mentioned, the receptors are present on the cell membrane. Like it can be insulin receptor, thyroid hormone receptor, or any other receptors. So these receptors are nothing but what? They are routinely the proteins, or they are glycoproteins, means carbohydrate attached to the protein, they are called as glycoproteins. So they take part in the cell transduction pathway, the caveolae and the lipid raft. Okay, so I hope it is very clear. So with this, we'll be concluding the topic on cell biology, where we have come across all these components, the transport across the cell membrane, the various components of the cell, and also we have seen the cell membrane model, that is the fluid mosaic model and its function. Okay, so with this, we'll conclude our class. Any doubts are there so that we can clarify, or we can proceed with the next topic? Okay, let me only ask some questions. Yes, should I ask some questions?